If anybody knows or seen Wynter, just they call me, bring her home.
It's torturing, it's mentally torturing. And, we can't move on like this for too much longer. We have to get this child home.
She should be here learning her ABCs, her 1, 2, 3s, and her colors. Ain't no way in hell we should be here outraged over a baby being murdered by a fool who have no regard and no respect for black women and black children.
Don't be bitter. You can be hurt and angry, because I am.
You took a little angel away from me. She was my first blood, and my only grandchild.
2 years old, murdered with an iPhone charging cable.
2 years old, 5 arrests, and every single time Michigan's court system looked at Rashad Trice, it decided he'd earned one more shot. He used that shot on a toddler who called him family. Her name was Wynter Cole-Smith. She had braids down to her shoulders, a laugh that apparently could take over a room, and a grandfather who says she'd never fall asleep unless she had a fistful of his beard in her hand. None of that mattered to the man in her house that night. What mattered to him was an argument about money and a jealousy he'd been carrying since before she was even born. By the time anyone realized what he'd done, he was 90 miles away. It took 3 days, an FBI manhunt, and half of Southeast Michigan to catch up with him. And catching up with Rashad Trice was something the system had already failed to do. More than once. Start with the people who actually deserved to be in this story. Samari Cole and A.J. Smith Jr. go back to childhood. Belleville, Michigan, riding the same church bus before either of them had any business thinking about grown folks' relationships. Life did what life does. They drifted apart, found their way back to each other, and in January 2021 had a daughter, Wynter. By the time she arrived, Samari and AJ weren't a couple anymore. And look, plenty of exes can't manage a peaceful breakup with a dog involved, let alone a baby. These two did it right. No dragging each other online. No using their daughter as leverage. Just 2 people trying to raise a kid well while AJ chased a football scholarship at UT Martin in Tennessee. Mostly absent but never checked out.
My granddaughter is a very beautiful, she's an emotional, very talented little girl. She's only 2 years old.
By every account, Wynter earned that description. She was smart. She was trusting. She was the kind of toddler who'd flash a total stranger a smile without thinking twice about it. Angel.
Angel. That's one word, angel. As you can see, her pretty smile, you can tell it just like light up the room. Her just being there, especially for a kid that could do her ABCs backwards.
That's the word her grandfather uses. And when a 2-year-old can recite her ABCs backward, y'all, that's not just cute. That's a kid who was already ahead of schedule, in a home full of people who noticed, which makes it so much worse that the man who ended up alone with her that night wasn't a stranger who broke in through a window. He was somebody she knew. Somebody who'd been around long enough that she probably didn't think twice when he was the last adult standing. That man was Rashad Trice, 26 years old, Detroit born and raised. And if you want to understand how he ended up capable of what he did, you don't have to dig far. His own father did time for homicide. His own mother did nearly 2 years for a gun charge. Rashad grew up watching exactly what consequences looked like, and somehow still came out the other side, thinking they didn't apply to him. He met Samari online in early 2021, when Wynter was barely 2 months old. And here's the part that should have been a warning shot for everybody involved. At that point, Rashad had no adult felony record, no violent convictions. On paper, he was clean. He would not stay that way for long. 1 month. That's how long Samari and Rashad had been together before the first police report got filed, May 2021. An argument broke out over Wynter's father. Rashad, jealous of a man who wasn't even in the room, threatening to hurt AJ over nothing. And while Samari stood there holding 3-month-old Wynter, Rashad got in her face, snatched her phone out of her hand, threw it across the room, and shoved her hard enough that she fell into a lamp. Wynter was in her mother's arms for all of it. Rashad was arrested, charged with domestic violence, charged with resisting the officers who showed up. And then he did what a certain type of man always does the second consequences show up at his door. He skipped his court date and ran. The judge revoked his bond, issued a warrant, and instead of turning himself in like an adult, Rashad Trice spent the better part of 2 years collecting new charges, the way some men collect sneakers. Monroe County picked him up. Resisting police, domestic violence, the same victim both times. 224 days after he got out, Michigan State Police picked him up again, near Lansing, obstructing police. He pled guilty to both. 3 months after that, state police out of the Brighton Post arrested him a third time. Same energy, different county. That one got him a year in jail and probation. And that probation? That's the one Michigan was still supervising him under on the night he killed Wynter. 3 counties. 3 arrests. 3 guilty pleas, and every single time, the courtroom looked at the paperwork and asked itself the same question. How many chances is too many? Turns out, in Michigan, the answer was at least 5. Meanwhile, life did not stop for anybody. By 2023, Samari and Rashad had a son together, Wynter's little brother, and Samari was raising both kids with help from both fathers. There was tension, and most of it traced back to the same jealousy that started this whole thing. AJ says Rashad sent him inappropriate photos of the two of them just to taunt him. Proof he was with Samari now, like AJ was supposed to care. AJ's response was about as calm as it gets. Don't play with my family. Don't play with my daughter. By July 2023, Samari and Rashad had reportedly broken up, living separately. On paper, done. Neighbors tell a different story. They said he was still around, still showing up at her apartment like the breakup was more of a suggestion than a fact, and that's exactly where we pick things up. Because on the night of July 2nd, 2023, Rashad Trice showed up at Samari's apartment uninvited, and by the time he left, nothing about this story would ever be the same again. July 2nd, 2023. Around 11:15 at night, Rashad Trice showed up at Samari's apartment. Uninvited. What set it off was money, an argument that should have ended with somebody leaving. Instead, it turned physical and fast. Samari, fearing for her life and her children's, stabbed Trice once in the leg. He did not stop there. Rashad stabbed her multiple times. He sexually assaulted her. Samari got out. She ran to a neighboring apartment and called for help. Both of her children were still inside when she left, her 1-year-old son and Wynter. When Lansing police arrived, they found the 1-year-old safe. Rashad was gone. Wynter was gone. Samari's white Chevy Impala was gone. Somewhere in that window, between 11:30 and 11:35 that night, Rashad Trice put a 2-year-old in a stolen car and drove away from Lansing.
First, we begin with breaking news. A suspect accused of kidnapping a 2-year-old girl in Lansing has been arrested here in Metro Detroit.
That's right. You see on the left there a picture of Rashad Trice, wanted in the kidnapping of Wynter Smith. Again, he has been arrested in St. Clair Shores.
Now, you may have been awakened by this Amber Alert around 2:30 this morning.
Yeah, and while Trice was arrested, unfortunately, police are still looking for Wynter Smith, the 2-year-old. Smith is being described with braided shoulder-length hair. She was wearing a white t-shirt with rainbows on it. Lansing police say this little 2-year-old girl was last seen with Trice around 11:30 last night. And if you have any information, please contact Lansing police. The number is right there on your screen, 517-483-4600.
By early morning, Michigan had an Amber Alert out for a 2-year-old girl with braided hair and a white t-shirt covered in rainbows. And somewhere south of Lansing, an entire state was about to spend the next 3 days looking for her.
Yesterday, we spoke to Wynter's paternal grandmother who lives in Detroit, but today we heard from her maternal grandmother and the child's mom, who was too emotional to finish out the interview because it is now day 2 with no signs of baby Wynter. The FBI, who were at the grandmother's home when 6 News arrived, says Wynter, her 1-year-old brother, and her mom were at an apartment on the south side this past Sunday. According to Wynter's grandmother, Wynter's mom was raped and stabbed at least 15 times by 26-year-old Rashad Trice. After the assault, Wynter's mom left the apartment to call police. That's when Trice stole her car and baby Wynter, who is not his biological child. He drove 90 miles from the scene and was then taken into custody in St. Clair Shores. Wynter's little brother, who is Trice's biological child, was found safe inside the apartment. But with no sign of Wynter, her maternal grandmother is heartbroken, and her mother, just released from the hospital today, too emotional to finish her words or speak clearly because of her injuries.
Does anybody know or seen Wynter? They ain't called me. Bring her home.
My granddaughter is a very beautiful, she's an emotional, very talented little girl. She's only 2 years old. If you have her in your possession, there will be no penalty to return her safely to the authorities, focusing on finding, a child that's still alive.
That's the account that first put the shape of that night on the record. Samari stabbed, Trice gone with the car, and with Wynter, her 1-year-old brother left behind safe. 2 days in, and her own mother was already on television promising there'd be no penalty, no questions asked, if whoever had her just brought her home.
The FBI and a number of law enforcement agencies searching tonight for the 2-year-old. Investigators tell us Wynter's mother and the suspect, Rashad Trice, began fighting late Sunday evening. The mother was stabbed multiple times, and Trice took off with the toddler, leaving the Lansing area. Trice was then spotted in St. Clair Shores this morning, and after a chase and a crash, was arrested. But police say little Wynter was not in the car, and Trice would not tell police Wynter's whereabouts. Tonight, 7 Action News reporter Brett Cast spoke with the child's father and the desperate search for Wynter happening right now in Lansing.
Well, the latest update we heard from police tonight is that Wynter's 22-year-old mother is in stable condition after being stabbed by her ex-boyfriend multiple times. And although that suspect was captured in St. Clair Shores and was spotted in Detroit, the search is still ongoing here in Lansing to find Wynter.
Late into the evening, the search is still on near the Lansing apartment where 2-year-old Wynter Smith was last seen. A dive team searched the water, drones hovered in the sky, and deputies combing the area on foot, finding no trace of the missing toddler.
I think I had to see it for myself. They did drone, helicopter, divers. I didn't know this stuff at first, right?
Wynter's grandmother, Sharon Eddings, drove with family to Lansing from Detroit, wanting to help in the search. After the attack late Sunday evening, it's believed the ex-boyfriend of Wynter's mother, Rashad Trice, took Wynter with him as he fled to Detroit. But when arrested in St. Clair Shores, Wynter wasn't in the car, nowhere to be found.
Ever since last night, I couldn't sleep.
Eddings' son, A.J. Smith, who is Wynter's father, is a football player at UT Martin in Tennessee. Now on his way back to Detroit, he zoomed with us from the Nashville airport, wanting nothing more than to hold his daughter safe and sound.
Wynter, she's an amazing daughter. She's smart. She can count all the way to 40. She said ABC. She can say some of them backwards.
The FBI is leading the case with help from multiple police departments. It's unclear where Wynter might be, whether still in Lansing or Metro Detroit. But law enforcement is exhausting every avenue, and Wynter's family isn't giving up.
I just want to tell everybody, stay faithful, don't give up. We can see a miracle. I believe that.
AJ was still in Tennessee when the call came. He got on the next flight home, his football coach, and the university scrambling to help however they could. Because that's the thing about the people who actually loved this baby. Every single one of them dropped everything. Meanwhile, the FBI, Michigan State Police, and departments from half a dozen counties pulled cell tower data and mapped Rashad's likely route. 90 miles, east out of Lansing, through Southfield, toward Detroit's east side. Drones in the air. Dive teams in the water. Boots on the ground. And every hour that passed, the family got a little further from okay.
The last 48 hours, an ongoing tragedy for Wylene Cannon and family after her 22-year-old daughter was stabbed by an ex-boyfriend, who authorities believe then kidnapped Cannon's granddaughter, 2-year-old Wynter Cole-Smith. The ex-boyfriend, who is not Wynter's father, was soon arrested in St. Clair Shores, but Wynter was nowhere to be found.
We're all devastated. It's hard day by day moving on without this child, knowing that she's missing, and we don't know what's happening to her, if anything.
Cannon says her daughter is now out of the hospital, recovering from the physical attack, but the emotional injuries remain. The ex-boyfriend staying silent on Wynter's whereabouts.
It's torturing, it's mentally torturing.
Girl, listen. That mentally torturing line isn't dramatic writing. That's a grandmother's actual words, on camera, in real time, not knowing if she'd ever see that baby again.
26-year-old Rashad Trice was formally charged today with several crimes. It all stems from Sunday's incident where police say Trice kidnapped Wynter Cole-Smith from her Lansing home after stabbing her mother. Darylyn Horn has more of the charges and what Wynter's father is saying tonight. Darylyn?
That's right, Sherry. The father of baby Wynter says he has not slept since he heard the news of his daughter's kidnapping. He returned to the Lansing area to be by the family's side as day 3 of the search continues. Though there are no new developments of where Wynter could be, we do know the latest charges her mother's ex-boyfriend is now facing. Here's video from this morning where dozens of officers searched for clues along I-96 and choppers flew above the area where Wynter and the suspect were seen. Trice, who's a Detroit resident, is facing assault with intent to murder, 2 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, first-degree home invasion, unlawful imprisonment, a second offense for aggravated domestic assault, unlawful driving away of an automobile, and felonious assault. Trice was also charged as a violent habitual 4th offender for the sexual assault of Wynter's mother. Right now, charges are ongoing for the toddler's disappearance, and so is the search, which Wynter's father says he believes will end with a reunion, but day by day, he says it gets harder to stay strong.
And just knowing I'm gonna see her again, I just know it. That's the only thing that's like keeping me so strong. It's getting hard day by day, but I have to do it. I have to stay strong for her because I can't just give up hope. I just have to know that she's out there somewhere.
That same day, day 3, prosecutors formally charged Rashad. Assault with intent to murder, 2 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, home invasion, unlawful imprisonment, a second offense for aggravated domestic assault. And because of the record we already walked you through, they added one more label. Violent habitual 4th offender. Notice what's missing from that list. Nothing about Wynter. Because on day 3, nobody officially knew what happened to her yet. They just knew what he'd already done to her mother. And it was enough to bury him in charges before the worst part of this story had even been confirmed. Every agency you can think of showed up for this one. FBI, Michigan State Police, sheriff's offices from 3 counties. And on a holiday weekend, no less. Because nobody was taking July 4th off while a toddler was missing.
Good afternoon. My name is Devin Kowalski. That's D-E-V-I-N. Last name Kowalski, K-O-W-A-L-S-K-I. I am the acting special agent in charge of the FBI field office here in Michigan. First and foremost, our hearts are with Wynter Cole-Smith and her family. This is a horrific situation, and the FBI has been involved in this investigation from the very beginning, in support of Chief Sosby and the Lansing Police Department. We are bringing every resource we have, both here in our field office, in our sub-offices across the state, and drawing on our headquarters resources, including our child abduction response team, behavioral analysis units, and other technical units to assist the Lansing Police Department. As the Chief noted, we thank you for the public's ongoing assistance, and we continue to ask for your assistance with information related to Wynter's whereabouts. Please contact us at 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI, or www.tips.fbi.gov. That's www.tips.fbi.gov. Contact us at this phone number or website if you have any valuable information that can help us find her. This afternoon, the FBI is announcing that we are offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to the location of Wynter.
$25,000 for information on the 4th of July. That's not a number you offer for a case anyone thinks is going to end well on its own.
We are now entering day 4 of the search for 2-year-old Wynter Cole-Smith. Each minute, an antagonizing reminder for her grandmother.
It's torturing, it's mentally torturing. And, we can't move on like this for too much longer. We have to get this child home.
Wynter's mother was stabbed, and Wynter was kidnapped by her mother's ex-boyfriend on Sunday night. The suspect, Rashad Trice, was arrested in St. Clair Shores early Monday morning, but has remained silent on the toddler's whereabouts.
It's a little girl. It's a little 2-year-old girl, my daughter. She shouldn't have to go through this. She got her whole life ahead of her.
We're all devastated. It's hard day by day moving on without this child, knowing that she's missing, and we don't know what's happening to her, if anything.
The FBI now offering a $25,000 reward to anyone with information that will bring Wynter home, releasing a detailed map of the route Trice took from Lansing to Metro Detroit, asking people to keep a keen eye for anything suspicious.
Day 4 came and went. Then day 5. Drones, canines, dive teams, door-to-door canvases. Nothing. And every single night, that family had to go to sleep not knowing.
I am deeply saddened to report that the search for Wynter Cole-Smith has come to an end. At approximately 6:50 p.m., a federal search team in Detroit located Wynter's body near the Coleman A. Young Airport. This investigation has moved from a missing child case to a homicide investigation. We will be coordinating with our federal partners in Lansing and Detroit, as well as local and federal prosecutors as we continue to investigate and determine the appropriate new charges. I want to remind everyone that this is an open investigation, and I will not comment on specifics of the case at this time. When we have an update we can share, we will provide it as soon as possible, once we know it won't interfere with the investigation moving forward. We have been transparent up to this point, and we will continue to be transparent with the facts of this case as long as it doesn't interfere with the investigation. Right now, our hearts are with the family of Wynter Cole-Smith. We saw a community show endless amount of support and assistance in help finding Wynter, and now we need the same support and love for the family as they grieve.
On the evening of July 5th, 2023, 3 days after Rashad Trice drove away from Lansing with her, searchers found Wynter's body in an overgrown alley on Detroit's east side, near Olympia Street and Irwin Avenue, not far from the airport her own father had just flown into. Trying to get home to her, she had been strangled with a pink phone charging cord. Half of it was found with her. The other half was still in the car Rashad Trice had been driving.
He came across 5 separate judges. He was released 5 separate times.
Defense attorney Richard Convertino says it's upsetting Trice was on the streets as a free man. It's a concern the public had as well, since he's charged as a violent habitual fourth offender. Vonda Evans, former Wayne County Circuit Judge, says it's not that simple.
And it's just unfortunate, but that's what happens. Many times these people, when they're in the penitentiary system, they're a wonderful model. The minute they get out, they can't handle it, and then they, they do very terrible things. like this gentleman is accused of.
5 separate judges, 5 separate releases, said on live television by the man's own defense attorney. Not us, not some angry commenter in the replies. His own lawyer, basically conceding the system had a Rashad Trice-shaped hole in it for 2 straight years.
The criminal complaint released Friday afternoon shows that the Chevy Impala Trice allegedly stole had a significant amount of blood in it, along with a pink charging cord. The feds believe that pink charging cord was used to strangle and kill Wynter. Investigators also say they found text messages Trice sent to his uncle saying he wanted to, quote, end this. During a police interview, the complaint says Trice knew of the Amber Alert and called himself a monster but refused to confess to the FBI. Allegedly, Trice and Wynter's mother got into an argument over money the night Wynter went missing. Law enforcement used a combination of cell phone data, license plate readers, and surveillance to track Trice's movement from Lansing to Detroit to St. Clair Shores, where he was arrested Monday.
5 judges gave him the benefit of the doubt. He never once returned the favor. 5 judges gave Rashad Trice the benefit of the doubt, and he spent it on a 2-year-old. Now it was somebody else's turn to decide what he was worth. Michigan's Attorney General, Dana Nessel, stepped in and consolidated everything. 20 counts, 3 counties, 1 case out of Ingham County. First-degree premeditated murder, felony murder, assault with intent to murder, 2 counts of criminal sexual conduct, home invasion, disarming a police officer. The list kept going. Part of the reason for combining it all, so Samari wouldn't have to relive that night in 3 different courtrooms. At the same time, the federal government brought its own case, kidnapping resulting in death, kidnapping a minor, and because he'd crossed state lines in a stolen car. This wasn't just a state matter anymore. It was federal, which meant, on paper, the death penalty was technically on the table. In a state that hasn't executed anyone since before Michigan was even a state. At his federal preliminary hearing, his defense tried one move, argue there was no proof Wynter was still alive the moment he took her, and used that to get the kidnapping charge thrown out. The judge wasn't having it. The charges stood.
New information on the Wynter Cole-Smith case. Prosecutors will not seek the death penalty against Rashad Trice. He is accused of kidnapping and strangling the 2-year-old. Trice is also accused of stabbing and sexually assaulting Wynter's mother before kidnapping the child.
So that answered that. No death penalty. Which meant the only question left was how much of the rest of his life he was going to spend paying for it. March 2024. Rashad Trice pled guilty in federal court to kidnapping resulting in death. As part of that plea, he admitted it. All of it. That he took Wynter. That he played something on a phone to keep her quiet during the drive. That he strangled her with the cord. That plea alone came with a mandatory life sentence. But Michigan wasn't done with him yet.
You are sentenced to the mandatory sentence of life without possibility of parole.
Rashad Trice finding out his fate Friday via Zoom in an Ingham County courtroom. Last month, Trice pled guilty to kidnapping his then-girlfriend's daughter, 2-year-old Wynter Cole-Smith, and killing her. It happened in July of 2023 in Lansing. Her disappearance sparked a massive search and an Amber Alert. Days later, her lifeless body was found in an alley on Detroit's east side.
You took a little angel away from me. She was my first blood and only my only grandchild.
Trice sat mute throughout the sentencing. Wynter's paternal grandfather read his own victim impact statement as well as one from his son.
You are a coward and a true definition of I can't say the words here.
Trice was sentenced to 60 to 90 years for sexually assaulting Wynter's mother before he kidnapped and killed the 2-year-old.
What I heard, statements saying a coward, a monster, a killer. To me, you're none of that. To me, there's no word that describe you. I don't hate you, but I hate what you've done.
Life without parole for the murder. 60 to 90 years, stacked on top, for what he did to Samari, a lifetime on the sex offender registry. Trice sat through the entire hearing and said nothing. Mount Smith didn't have that luxury. He stood there and read his grandson's letter out loud, in a courtroom, to the man who killed his daughter. And then he read his own. He called Trice a coward. He said there wasn't a word ugly enough for what he'd done. And then, and this is the part that actually gets me, he said he didn't hate him. He hated what he did. Y'all, that's a stronger sentence than anything a judge handed down that day. A week after the state sentencing, Trice went back in front of a federal judge in Grand Rapids and got a second mandatory life sentence for the kidnapping. 2 separate court systems. 2 separate life sentences. Some men managed to disappoint an entire state twice in 1 month. Rashad Trice managed it in 1 lifetime. He's never coming home. Not to Detroit, not to Lansing, not anywhere near a 2-year-old ever again. But a life sentence doesn't answer the question everybody in that courtroom was really asking. It doesn't explain the 5 judges. It doesn't explain the probation officer who wasn't due to check on him again until the middle of July. It just closes the file. The people left holding what's actually left of this. That's a different story. And it's the one we haven't told yet. Justice took a year to land. Grief didn't wait that long. The night her body was found. Before anybody had heard a single word about murder charges or plea deals, Detroit already had its answer for what to do with a feeling this big. It went outside.
Hearts are certainly heavy tonight as the community mourns the senseless murder of a toddler. Good evening and welcome to 7 Action News at 11. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. Dozens gathered to remember little Wynter Cole-Smith in the very place where her lifeless body was found just 24 hours ago.
7 Action News reporter Simon Shaquette has powerful messages from the vigil on Detroit's east side.
Fighting back tears, the grandfather of Wynter Cole-Smith joining this large crowd to condemn violence and also speak out about suffering an unimaginable loss.
This is weak, ignorant man who don't know how to be a man.
Standing shoulder to shoulder, united in prayer and love.
Wynter Cole-Smith.
Family members of 2-year-old Wynter Cole-Smith, friends and supporters come to talk about the urgent need to protect our kids and break a cycle of domestic violence.
Not only took away my angel, but you took away her future, her dreams.
Grandfather Almont Smith Jr. expressing both outrage and heartbreak. His granddaughter kidnapped from Lansing, killed and found here on the east side. He says Wynter's life was meant to be filled with joy, but a coward took that from her.
We got to stop this madness going around because it's killing our kids and us.
We're coming out to organize and try to pray and put some respect over Mrs. Baby Wynter.
It's painful. We ask that you continue to keep this mother, this father, this grandmother, this grandfather, everyone in this family lifted up in prayer.
Since Wynter's body was located last night, police and prosecutors have vowed to hold the killer accountable and bring more charges. Nonetheless, the heartache being felt can't be put into words.
We love each other. We love each other. And we're going to keep on loving each other and holding each other and just love each other.
Won't see her go kindergarten, first grade, elementary, middle school, high school, college, if she chose to, or what event or she want to do. He took that away from us.
As defendant Rashad Trice, an ex-boyfriend of Wynter's mother, whom he allegedly assaulted, remains behind bars following a pursuit and crash. Activists say it won't be enough to get justice for Wynter. Rather, more must be done to stop similar acts of evil. This vigil, not the start, but the beginning of a movement to lift up families.
That was the first night. There'd be 2 more vigils after it. One led by activists, one led by the family. And if you've ever wondered what a neighborhood sounds like when it's had enough, it sounds like this.
Raise your hands if you was impacted by what happened to baby Wynter. Everybody out here.
I don't think anyone can look at the pictures of that pretty little girl and not just ache for her mother and her entire family. Pastor Mo, who's been a fixture in trying to curb violence in the city for years, was as impassioned as I have ever seen him tonight.
And it ain't about race and color, but I want it to be known around the world. We do not condone this BS right here.
Putting out a demand for women and children to be cared for and a plea to young men.
I want you to look at this and say and make an oath to yourself. You will become a man of standard and love your sisters and your daughters, and you use this to push back. We would not have violence against women.
Wynter's family was not in attendance tonight. They will be here tomorrow, but one of her aunts thanked everyone for coming.
We'd like to thank you. We're so grateful for all of your support. We're so grateful for all of your love, your condolences, your hugs, and most of all, we're thankful for your prayer.
Angel. That's one word, angel. As you can see, her pretty smile, you can tell it just like light up the room. Her just being there, you know, especially for a kid that could do her ABCs backwards.
2 nights after that, at the second vigil, the one held right where her body was found, Wynter's paternal grandmother stood up in front of everyone who came, and she didn't perform grief. She directed it.
Don't be bitter. You can be hurt and angry, because I am, but you can't sit there. Because like I said back there and I said before, that's how we create these Rashad Trices. Yep. We don't need any more. No. Okay?
Several Detroit activists had her back while remembering the little girl who touched so many lives in her death.
She should be here learning her ABCs, her 1, 2, 3s, and her colors. Ain't no way in hell we should be here outraged over a baby being murdered by a fool who have no regard and no respect for black women and black children. Amen.
The family's vigil comes as Trice faced federal charges in connection with Wynter's death, charges that could result in the death penalty if convicted. During an interview with investigators, Trice said he got into an argument with Wynter's mother about money and they stabbed each other. The mother then ran away. Trice is accused of then taking Wynter and driving all the way from Lansing to Detroit, prompting the Amber Alert.
I say, don't let that monster poison your heart. Yeah, that's right. Because it was that very heart that found our baby.
Investigators revealed a screenshot of a text exchange where Trice's uncle begged him to stop. "I can help you. Come to me, Ray," he writes. "I love y'all, but I have to end this curse word, man," Trice responds. Detectives say Wynter was strangled with a pink phone charging cable. Parts of it were found with her body. Investigators say Trice called himself a monster and said he wanted to kill himself.
That hit us hard. Unfortunately, growing up in Detroit, we see a lot. We've been through families, members who have passed due to violence, but it's different when it's a child. How can you attack a 2-year-old? Like, how can a grown man attack? I can't process that, and that's going to take time.
The stress of the ordeal even put Wynter's grandmother in the hospital for a short time.
Dehydrated. I couldn't drink water, and I couldn't eat, and I wasn't sleeping.
And Wynter's grandmother works in coding, software engineering. She says that she's going to start a scholarship in Wynter's name in her honor for people who want to study that form of technology.
Don't be bitter. From a woman who had every possible right to be. That's not a soundbite, y'all. That's a grandmother doing grief work in real time, in public, on camera, because she'd already decided what kind of legacy she wanted her granddaughter to have. And she followed through. Sharon Eddings, software engineer by trade, announced a coding scholarship in Wynter's name. Something for kids who'd never get the chance Wynter didn't, in the exact field that gave her the stability to make it happen. It didn't stop at the neighborhood. It didn't even stop at the state.
Everyone in Michigan is horrified by this heinous and despicable crime. A bright light snuffed out way too early. Madam Speaker, our thoughts and prayers are with Wynter's family, the loss of her mother, and I ask that all members in the chamber and those in the gallery please rise for a moment of silence to honor and remember this beautiful, beautiful soul.
a 2-year-old from Lansing got a moment of silence on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Let that sit for a second before you decide this was ever just a local story. As for the people actually left holding it, Samari recovered from her physical injuries and has mostly stayed out of the spotlight since, raising her son and living with a loss no courtroom outcome undoes. AJ went back to Tennessee, back to school, back to football, because that's what his daughter's mother always taught her kids. You finish where you left off, and the family never stopped pushing Michigan lawmakers for what they started calling Wynter's Law. Legislation to keep repeat violent offenders from cycling back onto the street the way Rashad Trice did, 5 times, for 2 straight years. Whether that bill ever gets a floor vote is still an open question, but you don't have to wait on Lansing to already know the answer to the question this case actually asks. Here's what actually happened, stripped all the way down. A man hit a woman while she held his girlfriend's baby, and the state of Michigan responded by giving him a bench warrant. He ran from that, got caught, pled guilty, got out, did it again, pled guilty, got out, did it again, 5 times. That cycle ran. 5 times. Somebody in a robe looked at Rashad Trice's file and decided the system had this handled. It did not have this handled. We can talk about Wynter's Law. We should. But laws don't enforce themselves, and the honest truth sitting underneath this whole story is that the tools to stop this were already on the books the first time he skipped a court date. Nobody needed a new statute to revoke a bond and actually chase down the warrant. They just didn't. Rashad Trice is gonna die in prison, and good. But he is not actually the most interesting villain in this story. He's just a man who was jealous, cruel, and violent. And there are unfortunately a lot of those. The system that kept clearing his path. That's the one that's supposed to know better. So here's what I actually want to know. And I want you to put it in the comments. Not just think it. At what point in that 5 arrest pattern would you have pulled the plug? Because whatever answer you just landed on, Michigan landed somewhere past it.